So the first agenda item is the ETH2 Medalla testnet launch. Hudson, I think you were just mentioning this. Would you like to explain what that's all about?
Sure, absolutely. So ETH2, it's actually, so everyone's going to pronounce it Medalla. It's Medasha. It's a subway station or a train station. I forgot which one in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And a specific dialect in Buenos Aires pronounces it Medasha instead of Medallia. So for the Medasha testnet, it's a multi-client testnet with 5 client ETH 2.0 clients on it. And it's the largest and most complex testnet of its kind. I believe it's thought to be the last one before the launch of the phase 0 beacon chain launch for ETH 2.0. And today was the launch about exactly an hour and 4 minutes. No, wait, 34 minutes ago, maybe? Let me see. No, an
hour
hour
and 4 minutes, yeah.
Yeah. And we had a live stream on YouTube that I ran, and then there were people from the subreddit ETH Staker, and then of course some of the developers who were on the Zoom call with some dashboards open. There was over 1,650 participants at one point, which is really cool. When the testnet launched, there wasn't the required amount of participation for blocks to finalize and for what's called the chain to be justified, which means 2 epochs in a row of finalization. I think wait, let me look real quick. Is it a finalization or yeah, finality in 2 epochs is justification. So then the chain overall finalized because more validators came online. Part of the concern from my perspective is coin media like CoinDesk and Cointelegraph showing this as a failure because there was not the amount of validators, but this is actually a good thing because it showed the quick network recovery and some of the edge cases that might come about because of low participation turning into high participation within a 30-minute period. So overall, it was a very successful launch. The chain's running. There's a few bugs in a few of the clients, but that's why we have 5 clients running. And I'm excited for the cat herders to get involved in future, I guess, launches. What I'll probably do for the mainnet phase 0 beacon chain launch, I've already started some discussions, but I need to talk to ETH Trader and see if we can have an ETH Staker, and we can have a subreddit ETH Staker / cat herders launch stream hosted either on the Ethereum Foundation or Cat Herders YouTube, probably Cat Herders. And I'm really excited about the possibility of that. So we can get ready. We can also start to help them with making sure validators are online for the next launch, or for the next launch of the next phase of the ETH2 development. So that's another thing we can look into, although that's a little more difficult just because it's so new. It's hard to note who to reach out to and things like that, but it would take some pressure off of the ETH2 team to do that themselves. So that's all I have with that. Are there any questions?
General messaging might also be good for that. I mean, just making sure we hit the right platforms.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody else?
So at this point of time, they have this at research Discord channel specifically dedicated to Ethereum 2.0 testnets for Medasha. They have a specific channel, so people interested, they can go there and get some information and talk to validators and try to be one of them.
Yeah, it's really fun to be a validator for sure. Cool. Anyone else?
It's really cool to see your mentions about getting like Ethereum cat herders involved. That would be cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
So I think. Do you want to go ahead? Sorry, Pooja.
Oh, please go ahead, Anita.
I was gonna say if you guys wanted to move on to the next topic. I don't know if this one is.
I guess Pooja, did you have a final thing?
No, actually, that's exactly what I was trying to say, that we have actually categorized that as a specific topic to discuss more about it on like how we can collaborate with other people and ECH become the host for beacon chain live stream. So we'll talk more about it in the upcoming items. So feel free to go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, so the email item number 2 on the agenda is the email accounts for cat herders.
Yeah, I've been working on that one. I'm still trying to figure my way around the Zoho management system. There's a whole bunch of different ways to log in and stuff like that. If someone knows how to create, and I'm trying to figure out how to create yet another email account for support at ethereumcatherders.com, but I didn't spend a lot of time on it yet, but I'll double down and make sure I get that done for next time. We do have one email set up that's working, that's member at EtherCatHerders, but we want to get support, and so I'm still playing around with that, trying to figure out how to manage all that. So apologize for not having that ready. I'll plan on having that ready for next time, so we'll have to move that to next time, I guess.
No worry, Brent. Thank you so much for helping with that. So it's fine.
Sure, thanks. Yep.
So just to recap, last meeting we discussed Brent removing member and then adding support to not only just have the one support email, but also to see if you could remove email accounts.
Yep. My goal is to get support at ethereumcatherders.com created and then set that as the primary email, because right now it's member, and then see if I can delete member and figure out how to do all that. And I haven't figured out how to work. There's so many different ways to log into Zoho as different users and stuff like that. But and I just need to spend some more time to figure out how to run Zoho and manage email accounts for Ethereum cat herders. And we got it all set up and mostly working, but I still have some more work to do to figure all that out. But yeah, that's still the goal, is to create a support at ethereumcatherders.com, make that the primary email, and then remove member at ethereumcatherders.com. So, but I haven't done that yet, so that's still on my list of things to do.
So there was one action item related to that was on me about updating the social media platform with the new email addresses. I looked into that and I found that the Medium one is actually related to one of the old email addresses of Lane, which I am aware that is not valid anymore. So we'll try to get it fixed with whenever Brent comes up with a new email address. We'll try to work around it. If it works successfully, it's fine. Otherwise, we'll see what are the other options to get it changed.
Yeah, hopefully I'll have that. I'll try and get that done in the next few days. So, yep.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it would just be cool to hear more by next meeting. Okay, so I think then we can move on to the next agenda item. Agenda item 3 is the Ethereum Important Installation Survey, which, as I recall, somebody was gonna, I forget who, but somebody was gonna look into that.
So yeah, it was with me. We have shared this survey, the Ethereum Critical Installation Survey, with a few people in the the email addresses, the contacts list we had shared with them. Also, it is also available with the Twitter and many other places. We have received certain response, and as we discussed in the previous all-quarter meeting, wanted to check with the group, what do they think about adding ENR and other support. So, I mean, what are the general response? How do they feel this questionnaire to be do? They feel that there should be some improvement, or how does it look like? And then I will share the responses that we have received so far.
Oh, by the way, Pooja, this is off topic, but did you look into attaching the cat herders email to the social media accounts?
Yeah, I think I mentioned that for Medium. I was looking into that and I found that the email originally associated with that Medium account is actually an old one and is not valid anymore. So I'm not sure how it can be done, but I will try to look into it more once we get the email done from Brent at support@ethereumcatherders.com.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. And then you were just mentioning, I interrupted you. You were just mentioning the survey and the responses.
Yeah, I mean, if group has any general feedback on the survey, and then I can go ahead with the responses that we have received so far. So, so we are receiving good responses, like many people from mining pool, exchanges, wallet, and app, and all sort of people have reached to us, responded to the survey, and the general response is pretty good. I mean, it's a mixed one. Like people are using all different sort of clients installed there, but I'm looking for some more support to spread the word around, because it's my feeling that it's not widely out, so but we should spread it more. There was one more thing I wanted to discuss. How do we feel about sharing it with Ethernode people and try to get that information? I mean, these information is a part of what they are already sharing with the community. Like they are sharing the percentage of nodes, and we have this questionnaire. So can we just how do people think about like collaborating with them and doing it?
Collaboration with Ethernodes is good, but I think part of the point of the survey is probably also just to cross-verify the numbers. Like, I'm not sure we're sure about exactly how representative Ethernodes numbers are. No? I mean, so like you'd be talking about relying on their numbers, or like how would that collaboration look?
So my understanding, if forgive me if I'm messing up somewhere technically, but my understanding is the information showed that the Ethernode is directly coming up from the blockchain. They are fetching the data directly from the blockchain. And when we are reaching to individuals, to pools and these things. So my perception is like fetching data directly from the blockchain would be more reliable than reaching up to a certain group of people, because we may be able to reach a sub part of that, but I'm not sure if we are getting the 100% information. I mean, receiving 100% information from whatever nodes are available. So I'm just trying to explore what are the other ways to collect these informations.
I'm not an expert in the field, and if anybody here understands it better than me, but my understanding is that Ethernodes, even though they are scraping off of the blockchain, also is not completely representative, and that reaching out, especially to mining pools and entities like that, would actually be a very useful data set in and of itself, even if we don't reach out to everyone. For instance, even if you have a lot of hobby node runners or hobby miners who are running particular installations, if the critical installations that follow a different statistic pattern by mining pools or things like that, that is very critical information to know. For instance, even if Geth right now, I think is making around 70% on Ethernodes, if we find out that by mining pools, it's more like 90%, 95%, that means that we have a much bigger issue with homogeneity, is that even a word? Being homogeneous around one client, than we think we do. So I would think that reaching out to the survey does seem organized around trying to really target people who are running a lot of nodes, or a lot of instances. I would think that information would actually be useful by itself without collaborating with Ethernodes personally.
So I think I'm getting your point, and I find it quite valid, because the information that we are receiving is like we are getting the right information. What are the nodes, like the number of nodes that are by individuals or hobby seekers, and from the exchanges and wallets. So we'll keep on collecting this information, and let's see how it comes out to be. So as far as we have received the information so far, we see like 66% says that they have Geth installation. Along with Open Ethereum, Parity Ethereum is still dominant. Like 44% is open, and like Open Ethereum, and 55% says that Parity Ethereum is still there. So people are still using that client, and we are getting also good responses in terms like for future, what are they like if they would have to choose somebody, they are coming up with a good mix. Of course, the dominance is Geth, but there are Open Ethereum, Besu, and other mine too. So that's from the survey side that we have received so far. If anybody has any question.
Are you going to publish your results somewhere, or are you still collecting? Like, what's the timeline look like?
I think I would be still collecting it for maybe 1 or 2 weeks more because I see that we are still to get some information from some of the major node operators, I believe. So I hope we should be collecting it for now.
Cool. Super exciting.
Awesome. So I think we can move on to the next item, agenda item 4, which is the ECH Discord channel. And I think this includes the bridge between the Discord channel, Gitter, and Telegram, which I know a little bit about. But as I guess Pooja, who was kind of head of the Discord channel setup, how's that going?
So yeah, last week we discussed that we have the Discord channel. We have created it, and William would be looking into some kind of bridges for that. So here's the link for the Discord. And William, do you have update on that? Feel free to do that.
Okay. Something that we talked about before also, I think in the last call, was the possibility of sort of slowly migrating off of the Telegram and Gitter. And both in the last call and in this call, if there's any strong dissent to that, we'd be interested in hearing that. Personally, I strongly prefer Discord as a platform to either Gitter or Telegram. In the beginning, just to not make it as abrupt, so the idea, was originally floated that we should have bridges from the Telegram and from the Gitter into the Discord. I was supposed to do that and have not. I just simply haven't had a chance. I've been a bit swamped. Alita said she might be able to help and come in on that also. So we're going to be researching making bridges and trying to get that running. And in the meantime, definitely we would urge people to start migrating into the Discord. We should already start migrating it now, Pooja. That was the original timeline, no?
Yeah, I hope so. Like we were aiming to start it, like make it public as early as possible. So whenever we are ready with bridging for the present one, then we can make it public.
Okay.
So going into the bridges, because I've looked into that, basically the plan is to use a thing called matrix bridges, which can do bridges between all 3 of the platforms that we're discussing. It's an open source software that we can implement. I think I'm not exactly positive as to how it works, but I think we need a dedicated server of some kind. So if anybody has just like, I don't know if they have their own server or something that they would be willing to donate a bit of. I think it's not going to be very computationally expensive, but a couple options would include like a Raspberry Pi or something along those lines. I will be looking into getting hosting for that, as well as just maybe setting up a general test net on my own computer that we can then worry about continued hosting later. Yeah. That's like the matrix bridges, I think, are a node thing, by the way.
Oh, is this the chat bridge for Matrix? You're saying?
Yeah, I think so.
I already run that
the
for
matrix bridges.
I already run that for cat herders, but not for the Matrix chat service. There's actually a really easy way to do it without a server, so I can hook up with you and talk about how to do that after this call. There's like an online free service that lets you bridge Matrix to Telegram. And I've also already bridged Gitter to Telegram and can bridge it to Discord, but likely just abandoning everything and going to Discord would be my like recommendation, what I'd prefer. But if we want to keep Telegram or Gitter along with Discord, that's fine too.
Yeah, I just like that's just my vote, is I just like one major system.
So we can probably have a transition period, like we can start with bridging at this time, and then maybe eventually in 1 or 2 months, or maybe a 3 months target, we would like to have one Discord only. And on that, one of the responses I want to share here that we received from the feedbacks that we are collecting from the node operators, they are also suggesting to consider opening a Discord for people for interested in the network health. So, I mean, if we think we can think of some specific channel about that, we can also consider that.
I think we already put in help channels. I mean, if there needs to be a specific networking help channel, that really would not be an issue at all. to add something like that in. I might point out also, if we're already getting in 2 votes for not even bridging between Telegram and Gitter, it could be that before we actually put in the work to get the bridges up, maybe we should see if they're actually really, I mean, the reason I just sort of assumed bridges is I'd assumed people had gotten used to Gitter or Telegram and wanted the bridges there. But if people don't even feel the need for bridges, it could be we don't even need to go through the process, no?
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah, I mean that sounds good, but I was just wondering, like we have a good community people reaching out to us with the Ethereum cat herder community Gitter. So how do
We can
we?
still monitor it and point people to the Discord,
Okay.
but that
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah, I like that plan.
Yeah, that can be done. Yep, that sounds good.
All right, cool. Alita, do you have a strong opinion about making the bridges?
No, I don't. I think I'm happy to do whatever you all decide is best.
All right, cool. Guess we
So
just saved
let's-
ourselves some work there, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do agenda item 5, which is cat herders funding, Malek, DAO, and ESP. If I recall correctly, this was postponed from last meeting. Or no, it wasn't postponed from last meeting, I don't think. Or was it? I'm confused. Yeah, okay, so it was postponed until Hudson got back. So Hudson, would you like to talk about this?
Sure. So I figured out how to get all of these shares from the Moloch DAO grant that we participated in. The shares are equal to certain amounts of wrapped ether. We have taken that wrapped ether and transferred it to the safe. We have 123.61 wrapped ether, which is just a type of, it's just turning ether into an ERC20 token and unwrapping it cost a transaction. We initially asked for $30,000. At the time of the grant, $30,000 was a lot, meant that the price of ether was cheaper. So actually the wrapped ether equals $47,893 currently. We've
Woohoo.
decided to put half of that into stable coins. I haven't done that yet, but we discussed that on the multi-sig channel, private one with some of the multi-sig holders. If there's any dissent to that, obviously we were going to ask here before, but we were thinking, I guess, a quarter in USDC, a quarter in DAI, and then half in Ether. What do people think of that? Because we're not fully, like, completely 100% on that, but yeah.
Sounds good to me.
That sounds smart.
So Pooja, did you create this Discord server, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Because you don't have the little crown thing by your name, so I was hoping that, yeah, someone created it who knows about
No,
it.
I actually created it and then added William. He volunteered to help with the admin thing. So I tried to categorize into 3 different sections. One as like, I'm sorry, we have listed it in one of the previous meetings. Like we are trying to make it into 3 different set of people. One who are the members who are actually holding the herders token. Number 2 would be the moderator, who are the contributors of Ethereum cat herders and one or the other task that we are performing. And the 3rd would be the community category. So just trying to make it simpler for people. So that's why I'm not holding the crown there.
Sounds good. Sorry for getting off topic. So the DAO, Moloch DAO stuff is
Oh,
there.
no problem.
I'll be sending the transactions to turn it into half DAI and half USDC. Oh, sorry, quarter DAI, quarter USDC. Rest will stay in Ether. We can decide over time if we need to transfer some of that to DAI or USDC. But my thinking is, in the event that there'd be a catastrophic crash within stablecoin or with the price of ETH, stablecoins would become unpegged too. When I say catastrophic, I mean like ETH below $10 or something like that. The stable coins would become unstable, so it doesn't really, you know, affect us much unless the price of Ether goes below. I think it was 220 at the time we did the grant. I'll double check though. That's it for that one.
Okay, I have something to say about this.
You cut
but
out.
Does anybody else want to add something? I have something to say about this topic, but does anybody
ahead.
else? Okay, so one of the discussion points last week was about how to use that funding. And specifically, I wanted to talk about the potential of a hackathon. So a hackathon would cost anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000, at least in my rough estimation. But I think that would be a very beneficial way to kind of get more onboarding and public notoriety.
I agree. What would the theme be, if any?
So the theme would be around hacking, like hacking ETH contracts using Solidity or what have you. I think that one of the primary drivers of the cost behind a hackathon would be the cost for travel, at least according to some online articles. And so it would be a good idea to host the hackathon in a major city of some kind with presumably some students. So I don't know, I would probably say like New York or Boston, something like that, that's possible. Or wherever the highest interest we think would be. But yeah, the basic like theme would be hacking a smart contract to get like, you know, Ether, and you could do it on like on the Ether testnet, for example. So that might be a cool ECH hosted testnet type deal. Yeah, I don't know. But I personally think that would be a good use of the money, aside from funding ECH in general, of course. But what do you guys think?
I don't know when we can do in-person conferences again until potentially next year. When were you thinking of doing this?
So I don't know how long it would take to like plan that out, to be honest. I would say anywhere from 6 to 8 months. And then I was thinking that a really, I guess, serendipitous date would be July 30th of next year, because that was the date of the first mine block or whatever.
I think we can also start with collaborating with some people. Like if we are seeing that in person is like far away from now, maybe we can start looking for some other options, doing it online with in collaboration of maybe Gitcoin or there are many other hackathon organizers.
That is a very good idea. Yeah, I definitely agree that collaboration would be a really good idea if you just wanted to do a general cryptocurrency hackathon.
Yeah, I think we've collaborated a lot at Pegasus with Gitcoin in the past for their hackathons, and it's been generally a good experience. Like you can just put up a bounty for something you're interested in, and they handle all the logistics and whatnot, and find people to work on it. So I think if we found like a few specific topics that we think make sense for people to work on, yeah, partnering with Gitcoin or ETH Global is another one. They just have all the experience setting that up, and frankly are quite good at it. So I think it's a pretty easy way to do it.
I really like that idea. I think it would be good for next meeting if we could come up with a list of potential topics and people to organize with. Maybe if there was like some sort of list that we could make about, well, people we worked with in the past and the potential ideas for future engagement. So that seems to be or does anybody else have any comments on this topic?
I think one thing that could be cool if we were to partner with a hackathon is to have some like less technical things actually, like, you know, how do you improve like the how EAPs are displayed, right, or searched on, or I don't know what else. Like people always complain that like you can't find information. I don't know about hard forks, about EAPs, about like governance or whatever. But I think there'd be a lot of value in having bounties for that, like improve the sort of like non-technical UX for navigating Ethereum. I haven't thought about it much, but it feels like it's something that people keep kind of complaining about, that the cat herders are like in a good position to evaluate. I think that's another challenge with hackathons is you need to be able to like really evaluate well different submissions. So if, for example, you're asking for something super technical, you need a super technical judge. Otherwise, you won't be able to distinguish between like two good submissions. But yeah, I feel like something around just like making the community information more accessible to people could be like a really good bounty.
That's a really interesting idea.
Yeah, I like the idea too. So the concept behind this hackathon that I proposed a few meetings back was like, we want to engage more community people and people who are not only technical, but if they would want to contribute in any other form, if they are there and they are willing to even learn, if we can create some kind of program or have some activities around that, that I think should be helpful. And on that, I think, I mean, I will get back to on this topic more maybe in the next meeting, but I'm just giving you some rough idea to, food of thought kind of thing. Like I was in a meeting and I found there is a group that they are kind of making two sets of people, like a trainer and trainee kind of thing, and they try to bring them together, and they try to people who are interested and they want to learn match with the people who are expert in that knowledge. Maybe these kind of activities, if we can collaborate with these kind of people, will be also helpful.
Pooja, that's a great idea. I really, really like that. That's awesome. And I also really like the general idea of showing that Ethereum is bigger than just technical, specificity and development. You don't have to be a coder to be involved and to really make an impact and help us and contribute to Ethereum. And that's something that I think would be a very valuable sort of message to go off of on this. Although notably, if that was the goal, it would be worth considering that going with Gitcoin on the one hand would probably make that more difficult. Like would make that sort of message more difficult. So if we want to go with that sort of mission statement, then an in-person hackathon would be beneficial. Okay, so does anybody else have any comments on this topic? Alrighty, so let's move on to agenda item number 6, which is 1559 fee market changes. As I recall, this one was postponed because Tim was not present. Tim, would you like to carry this?
Sure. I gave a quick update on the chat last week. So basically, there's 3 main stream of works happening right now. The first is the Besu team and the Vulcanize team are working on getting a testnet up to just test both implementations of 1559, make sure they work together, and eventually make sure they can work under stress. So the biggest challenge with EIP 1559, at least in my view, is because the block size becomes variable. So that means it's not fixed at 12 million gas, but it can go up to 25 million. We don't know if clients can process blocks that are filled to 25 million gas for a long period of time. And so that could be an attack on the network. So someone could just spend a lot of money to create really big blocks. And then if nodes can't process them, they'll drop off the network. That's not great. So we want to have a test net and then kind of attack it so that we can know what happens basically to the clients. So that's one stream of work. It's ongoing, progressing nicely. Second stream of work is trying to just do simulations of what different people on the network will do under 1559. So that work is being done by the EF, and it's also coming along nicely. And part of that is to just create a bunch of like spam transactions for the network to create these big blocks and see what happens. And then the third stream of work is to get a formal analysis of the EAP done. So basically the EAP is based on a lot of people's hunches about what should work and how it should work, but there's no really like formal proof of that. So this is still kind of earlier. We've gotten in touch with some researchers to try and do that work, but there's no one that's been like publicly confirmed yet, or that has like publicly announced they're working on it. So it's still quite a work in progress, but I'm cautiously optimistic that it will happen. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, Tim, for the summary. Does anybody else have any comments on that? Okay.
And
so
yeah,
let's move-
sorry, yeah, maybe one just final
Go
cat
ahead.
herders related thing is we'll probably have a call in the next, I don't know, 2 to 4 weeks and just need notes for that. And if usually Griffin from the EF can do them, but if not, yeah, it'd be great to just have somebody helping with the notes, because I think it's important to document these calls.
Yeah, I also missed to mention that thing in the Moloch DAO cat herders funding thing. So I was about to propose this. So Tim, yes, we can certainly create a schedule for ongoing 1559 meetings. We have been provided fund from Moloch for that meeting as well. So yeah, we'll be happy to do that.
Great, thanks.
Cool. Are there any other comments about this? Okay, so let's move on to the next agenda item, which is new proposals. Currently, the new proposals include the Ethereum 2 beacon chain launch, which I think was talked about, but that's specifically about the ECH hosting a live stream. And then the second proposal is the EIP specific session. Would anybody like to discuss those two things?
For the first one, I've already talked about it. Does anyone have any other comments on the beacon chain live stream ECH stuff?
So I think it would be good to reach out to Jay. Some of us know Jay. So Jay recently, or at least in my recent memory, hosted a live stream where she showed like a video, like a movie, which was really, it was through like a decentralized, a DApp type application online. It was pretty cool. We could see about collaborating with whatever company she used. So asking her about what she was doing might be worth investigating.
Do you know if it was live peer?
If it was like a live stream, you mean?
No, there's a DApp called Live Peer that does decentralized live streaming. Chris Hobcroft's involved with them. He was one of the initial cat herders.
What's the name of it?
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We should be utilizing DApp protocol stuff or Ethereum related streaming services when we can. And we can also, I've worked with Live Peer before, so that's a possibility if Live Peer is what she worked with.
I'm not actually sure. I think it didn't look this nice, but that would be cool. So any sort of, I think my general point being that, yeah, we can do it through a decentralized, program, or just even giving them some shout outs would be, I think, really good. Better than YouTube necessarily.
Great.
So, and then does anybody have any comments about the EIP specific session?
Yeah, I have added that item. So talking on that, like a few agenda back, Tim mentioned that we are hearing from the community that there is not enough EIP discussion, or maybe not enough EIP information, and I was wondering how CAD headers can be helpful for that. So I was thinking, and this is a proposal. So can we have an EIP special session, like an EIP in 30 minutes kind of thing by cat herders? Maybe the subgroup would be EIP because there we talk about more EIP and process improvement stuff. But I'm just gonna lay out the structure that is there in my mind, and if people have thoughts, we can discuss more about it. So I came to think about it while I was working on the upgrade retrospective stuff, like the postmortem. And one thing that came up was like not every EAP gets enough time to be discussed on all core dev call. So it's like, now we are discussing EAP in 90 minutes call, and EAPs get 10 to 15 minutes to be talked about, which is good for client team, like client devs, that they are understanding the protocols and everything, but that may not be sufficient for the community. So for any protocol that is to be considered for network upgrade, I think community consensus is needed. So cat herders can help start building it from the day one, the PR is submitted in the EIP repository. So why we would want to have this is like this will help increase the visibility of that EAP, will increase the community discussion, like encourage people to discuss more about it. It will decrease, I mean, I believe that it will help us decreasing the PRs that is stacking up in the EIP repository. If we get, if we provide the attention to the EAP that they are looking for right from the initial days, then it will be easier for people to navigate through that EIP. And this way, maybe ECH and EIP IP group would be able to contribute more to the active proposals. So the content that I could think of is like the cat herders or the EIP group will select one of the EAP that could be a potentially new EAP, just like for introduction, or maybe an EAP which is under discussion for past 2 or 3 meetings, or maybe a final call EAP that is there in the like final call, and people don't know, because I have seen many EAPs which are there in for final call for so many days, and it ideally should be only for 14 days, 2 weeks period only. The format that is there is like we would invite the author, and he or she would explain the EAP and also the possible use cases of that. And they would also share the GitHub and the discussion forum. And if cat herders collect some kind of questions beforehand for that particular EAP, we will share that, or maybe we would try to make a live stream and discuss more about that protocol. And the proposal is to have it like once in every 2 weeks, and that should be like 1 week ahead of the all core dev meeting, so that we have this thing ready, and we will share the link with the core dev chat, and people may be able to know more about it beforehand. And the discussion in the core dev meeting will start from there, like they don't have to go for this part. And the 30 minutes time would be, in my mind, would be like quite reasonable for authors to explain that protocol in a very well-defined way. This would be documented, of course, because it is in a video form, very easy for community to refer. And the invitee, the people who can participate in this kind of meetings or calls, can be the author, the hardware coordinator, magician people, client devs, and community. So it's a thought to have a kind of series of EIP discussion on the cat herders channel. If people have thought, feel free to share.
I think that's a great idea. That's really all I have.
Yeah, same here.
Strikes me like potentially a lot of work, though, like managing to dive into each subject well enough to understand it well enough to be able to present it in a way where it can be community understandable, like especially if it's some of the deeper level things. And so it might be a bit of a heavy workload. That might be something worth bearing in mind.
So the idea is to collect more and more information from the author. I mean, like we would be just the facilitator here. We would be inviting the author to explain the EAP in a way. For example, like I was considering like example 1559. This EAP is very, very popular. It's going to have a potential effect on the main network whenever it is there, but still there are a lot of confusion around that EAP. And not only this 1559, there are a few other proposals which came up in due course of time, and not many people are aware of it. Maybe not because not everybody is so technical to go back and read the technical differences. So I feel like it's very important to be said in a simpler word for community and answer them like simple question answers that community may have.
And I sort of feel like that's a good counterpoint, though, because 1559 has had a lot of very gifted communicators attempt to explain it. Like Dan Finlay from MetaMask has published quite a bit on 1559. It's a confusing EIP. I mean, I don't know if there's necessarily any way around that. And I mean, even if we rely on authors, not every author is necessarily gifted at taking especially very low level concepts and putting them in a way where they can be relevant and engaging to a community that might not necessarily have that level of technical expertise.
I think that's a really good point, and I think I think it would go a long way as far as the adoption of EIPs as well. Just generally speaking, for the community at large. Pooja, are you suggesting I'm not sure if you said specifically, but are you suggesting a group where it's kind of like a Q&A with the author?
Kind of, yes. My suggestion is about having a series of EIP every alternate week, in which we will invite the author. The cat herders will invite the author, and we would also invite knowledgeable people from the space. Like we will have hardware coordinator and some of the client devs who would like to participate, and we'll let author provide a platform to talk to people and let them know about there are a few EAPs which are in the final stage, but not many people are aware of it. Not even some of the client teams are not even aware of those kind of EAPs. So I just want to provide a platform for these EAPs to be discussed, shared, and I feel like if this is something set up, it would be very helpful for long run.
I mean, my previous sort of doubts notwithstanding, I would be willing to try and give a shot. Like, I know a little. What skills would be necessary for this? You would want to live stream the interview, or are you just saying that maybe have it recorded somehow and put it up on YouTube afterwards? Like, I mean, if it's live streamed, that gives the ability for people on YouTube or whichever platform to ask questions also, I suppose. I think I might have the skill set to be able to do it. So I don't know the EIPs very well, though. So I'd probably be relying on someone like Brent, who's pretty up to date with the EIPs in terms of figuring out maybe what the new EIPs are. Maybe contacting authors even, if you'd be willing to do that. And, but I mean, if that is worked out, if an author gets in touch with me, theoretically, I could try and arrange an interview and at least experiment with the idea, see if we have a way of making it work or if we have a way of making it useful.
A good candidate for someone to reach out to, if you've read the article from Hasu and Georgios, look at that one. That one's very well written, I've been told. I haven't had a chance to read it myself, but besides Dan Finlay, the only other major article that got a lot of attention on 1559 was the Hasu and Georgios one.
So yeah, I mean, the 1559 is just an example in my mind, but if we think that we would want to start this, we may have to have a list of that. We can think of, all those potential EIPs, and we can start from the EIPs that are being considered for Berlin. So, I mean, because that is going to be in the upgrade whenever Berlin is going to be, happening. So we can start with the EIPs which are already into accepted state of Berlin. We may probably want to reach out to the authors, although that is there, they have already reached to the accepted state. So we are assuming that it is accepted by the community, by the devs, by client devs and everybody else. But it would also be a good starting of familiarizing that ETH with the community. I mean, like earlier we were discussing about writing about it, but I think coming up directly from the author of the ETH or the champion of the ETH would add more value.
Yeah, I think just like to give some background on 1559, we did do a few of those things. Like just last week, we had a call, I think, with ETH magicians about that. I think they're valuable. The problem is they seem to be pretty like low reach.
Right.
So one of the things that's like good with all core dev is like, yes, the conversation is usually short, but like, you know, a lot of people kind of follow these calls and they tend to be like, yeah, pretty broad reaching. And then even though not a lot gets discussed on all core dev, most of the conversations then happens async afterwards. I just don't know how you, how you make sure that like for the author, it's not, you know, just reaching out to like 3 people, and how do you make sure that like it's actually worth their time? Even more so if you want to involve like client developers. Like if I think at like, I don't know, from our perspective at Basu, the last thing you want is like for an engineer to sit on a 1-hour call that's like they could have just read a thread in 5 minutes async. So just like, yeah, really thinking about like who's the audience of this. Is it about like the core devs and the more technical aspect? Is it about just like the more general community? And if it is for like the more general community, how do you make sure that like you reach most of them? Yeah, and because otherwise it just feels like it might not be worth the time of the champions if it's just like a one-off thing that reaches very few people. So
yeah.
So
I think I'm getting your concern. Okay, please go.
Yeah.
Sorry for interruption. Yeah.
no, that's okay. So I just wanted to give 1 point, well, 2 points actually. First off, I think William would be a really good interview host. He volunteered, and I think that would be, I think William would be really good with that. And then also, based off what Tim was saying, I think, in my opinion, a straight up interview or even podcast format with just even, you know, say William and the host, maybe some other guests or whatever, but a very controlled sort of setting where they can present their information, and then for the general community would be much more, I guess, consumable than say one of these types of you know, ECH meetings, because nobody watches these, right?
Yeah.
And that's understandable because they're free form and just generally not very engaging. But if you were to do an interview format or a podcast format, I think a lot of information would get, assuming that our target audience is the general population. But also, we have 4 minutes left, so just a heads up that the meeting is almost over.
One final thing, I think, to make these like conversations really valuable is spending it all the time gathering all the questions from the community. So I think that can be something that's valuable. It's like if, you know, William or the guest readers in general just like spend a bunch of time finding like the 10-15 questions that people have about this heap and answering all those just once. I think that can help a lot.
Maybe it's just an action item. Maybe out of band, maybe Tim, I'll try and be in touch with you. And Brent, would you be available to help with this?
Yeah.
Great. So maybe I'll try and pull the 3 of us together.
That's the point.
Also, I just got support at ethereumcatherders.com working. Pooja, you should have received an email from that. So
Bravo.
The admin panel is still bugging me because we have to get SPF verification set up. So I'll have to reach out to Charles and have him set up a new text record for that. But yeah, it's working now. So.
Yeah, I would just quickly like to come back to one of the Tim's point. Like, I really understand your concern about like making it work. So the idea of having this, maybe Alita has put it in the right word, like podcast style. The idea of having this kind of series is like to get information before it reaches to the all core dev. So it would be in detailed format. Say, for example, we are considering any new ETH that is just there in a PR, and people have to go on the All Core Dev to explain what it is all about. So before that, if we can have this author on our channel and talk about the ETH, they describe everything else, then whenever we are ready with this, and we want to make it 1 week before the All Core Dev call so that we can share it with the devs beforehand. And then when the discussion starts in the All Core Dev, it would be after getting the answer to the first few questions that he already have done in the podcast before. So that way it will save some time, and the audiences will be like getting information recorded somewhere too. And I think that would save some of the All Core Dev time, and we would be able to add more and more ETHs. The reason I'm mentioning this because this calls happens once in 2 weeks. So for example, if one ETH gets 10 minutes time and it takes 4 All Core Dev time to 4 All Core Dev meetings to just make people understand, it's almost 2 months delayed, right? So if we can just kind of expedite this information providing services and help to get these ETHs move faster, that is the idea of having this series. And yes, of course, we need to get onto that. If we decide on an EIP, we need to get onto the Reddit and reach out to different forums, communities to collect more questions beforehand, so that we should be ready with a list of questions that is there from the community, and then we have this call.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments, specifically in response to Pooja?
No, I think that's a great plan. Let me know how I can help in a limited way. My time is somewhat limited right now, but I definitely want to keep up to date. And I got to go in a minute, just personally. So I just wanted to say real quick for an update on the sending out bounties, or not bounties, like the note-taking payments. I'm doing that when gas prices are low, so it's kind of staggered. But I already sent Edson's out, and I'm going to send Pooja's out soon too.
Can I keep you on for a minute for emergency comms, or should I just reach out to you?
Yeah, actually, I can stay a minute for emergency comms. What's up?
Is it okay if we jump to emergency comms then? I think I'm leapfrogging a little bit. Okay. So Hudson, Jay, and myself are working on an emergency comms document. The goal, I believe, is that Hudson, I think you mentioned that the ETH2 groups are sort of concurrently coming up with a similar idea. So I believe the general plan is at some point to try and merge the two ideas together. Is that about right?
I don't know what I'm not in the ETH2 team, so I said I would imagine they're coming up with something. So I know that ETH1 has kind of had a loose plan for a bit. And so we can merge it with the ETH1 folks first, and then see if ETH2 is doing anything and communicate with them. So regardless, let's just communicate with ETH1 and ETH2 about it, but we're not sure how far along they are.
Okay, fine. So I guess details for that I can figure out just in personal comms with you.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, great.
Okay, so it is time. We are at time. So thank you all so much for coming today. I guess the points that we didn't hit, we'll push over to next week or in 2 weeks. The next meeting is, let me quickly check this, the 18th of August. So I look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you.
Thanks a bunch.